Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, in case you ain't know so, and welcome back to another dope episode of Sports with SoSo. Coming to you live, y'all. This week, we got the Marlins winning yet another series before they head into the All-Star break, and UFC 290 put on a bunch of bangers. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go! Dog, I want you to bring this energy every time we record, dog. You have to bring this energy every time we record.
I mean,
I don't know. Do what you got to do.
I don't know if the energy is different somehow. I don't know if it's just being received differently today on this glorious Monday.
It's a glorious Monday.
Tuesday by the time you're listening to this.
Hopefully it's glorious.
Yeah, the Tuesdays are a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. We'll worry about the river when we get to the bridge.
Facts.
So what's going on,
What's going on, my G?
Chilling, man. I got the
I
OG.
See you rocking the OG.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like Terry Crews out here, man. Get a whistle, dog.
Is that dog? Y'all can't see this because the angle isn't the best, but fuck, that was awesome.
Oh man,
that was awesome, dog. Yeah, man. Hot ass weekend. Right? We don't have that much going on in the world of sports, right? But we got our Marlins.
Thank God for the athletes, because it is a scorcher out here in South Florida.
Because we talked about it earlier, but I don't know how anybody can work outside, bro. So if you're in South Florida and you work outside, the Sports with SoSo show, salute to you, dog. Big time.
Shout out to all the roofers out there and all the outdoor laborers, your siders and your carpenters and whoever the hell else works outside in the your landscapers, your gardeners. Tip those guys extra in the summer, man.
I'll tell you a funny, a crazy story. I left my laptop. Sometimes I come straight from work, so I leave my equipment in the car, right? Last week, before we did the show, I left my equipment in the car, and when I got it out, it was fucking warm as shit.
Your brand new laptop.
Brand new. Don't tell my girl. She's listening to this, but don't tell her.
Well, I told you about that.
Brand new. And I was like, dog, this shit is way too hot. So whatever, I opened it, everything's fine, whatever. But then today, when I got to work, I was like, guess who's coming inside?
Yeah,
Laptop.
Remember when you held down the Roadcaster? I told you about that day too. I was like, bro,
hot.
Yeah, it gets way too hot in the car.
Dog,
golf clubs
safe.
too.
Golf clubs too, bro.
Take them out the truck. Take them out the car.
Take them out the car. I always leave my shit in the AC though, dog.
Bro, I always would leave my clubs. My first set, I would always leave them in the whip because I was always playing. Yeah. So I was like, wow, I gotta take it down. Like,
it's not gonna mess them up.
It messes them up.
Absolutely.
So, messes
your grips
up.
Get loose.
What specifically? It's the epoxy with that connects the glue that holds the club head and the shaft.
Correct.
That will loosen up over time. So
yeah, and then you find yourself hitting a ball, in the fucking club that goes 15 yards. Maybe not farther than the ball.
And hopefully you can find. I've seen that happen a couple of times. Shout out to Omar. Shout out to Obi.
It happened to me with the tester driver that you have here.
Oh yeah. You put a whole new.
The learning one.
You put a whole new shaft and grip on it.
Put a whole new grip on it, dog. That shit said, "See ya." Wouldn't want to be you.
That thing is sitting there brand new. So check it out. Any Sports with SoSo listener wants an old beat up driver
to practice on,
to get into the game of golf,
to practice on. Hit us up.
Shout out.
Hit us up. We got something for y'all, man.
Yes, sir.
You know who else has something for us, bro? The Marlins, bro. They've honestly made this summer completely bearable from a sports standpoint, right? Because right now, South Florida, right, for us. Because if you think about it, Heat aren't in action, right? We're in free agency, waiting to see what happens with Damian Lillard, which we'll get to later on in the show. Same thing with the Panthers. Their season is done. Draft is done. They're out of it. So, we're not really in practice mode yet for football and the Dolphins, right? So, what do you have left? You have baseball. And obviously, combat sports, your mixed martial arts, your UFC, your Pride.
Other national events.
Right, other national events. You got tennis going on with the Wimbledon.
Home Run Derby, which is tonight.
Yeah.
By the time you're listening to this, you already know who the winner is.
For sure, but my point being, the Marlins made you forget that nothing else was happening in South Florida sports.
Sure.
Right? And when you're talking about a record of 53-29 at the halfway point, you have to be not only amazed by what this team has been able to accomplish, right? But you also have to be, you kind of have to have your ears perked up and say, bro, let me keep my eye on this team because they're definitely heading in a direction where there's a playoff berth in the realistic probabilities, right? There's a chance to win a playoff game, maybe get deeper into the playoffs. Like, there's a lot going on with this team that is just like right below the surface. On the surface, all you see is the record. The Marlins are winning, and they're not as bad as they ever were down here, right?
But I think that's fair assessment at a high level,
right? Because then you think about it. You have a guy who's battling, the MLB to hit 400, and he's only off by .12, right? Because he's batting 388. We're talking about Luis Arraez. You have a guy who has emerged as a dominant pitcher from the farm system in Yuri Perez, right? You have this one guy in particular that had a terrible subpar season last year in Jorge Soler, who's now in the top 5 of home run leaders in the majors.
A guy that we signed 2 years ago for that particular reason.
Right? So now, and then you add everything else on top of that. Jazz coming in and playing a new position, missing games, coming back, right? Jesus Luzardo being a great fucking pitcher. Braxton Garrett, who we drafted, right, and brought up through our system. Another pitcher who's developing into a real caliber starter. That was my watch. Just a lot that you look at this team and say, we got pieces. We have pieces to go out there and be competitive. We have pieces to go out there and win. Now let's go out there and see them do it. And the Marlins have done that, bro. They just won 5 out of the last 7 games after, getting swept by Atlanta, which is the only team that fucking owns us this year.
Oh, not this year. Historically.
The
Braves I always say it. I say it on the show all the time. Anytime we bring up the Braves, they got the Marlins number.
Yeah, they do, man.
And they're still killing it. They're the hottest team in baseball. If it wasn't for the Braves and maybe one other team, I'm trying to think who else right now is having a great stretch.
Tampa Bay.
The Phillies were doing all right up until they got to us. They took that first game, and we'll get into those now. But yeah, I think, besides Tampa, you said, right? The Rays?
As far as the major leagues go,
yes. Right? Overall, I think if it wasn't for the Rays and if it wasn't for the Braves, all of the league would be on official notice of the Marlins.
We'd be the best team in the majors. And what's crazy is that we're playing such dominant baseball, right? And we're still 8.5 games behind Atlanta. And honestly, those 8.5 games has been every single game we lose to Atlanta. Because we've only beaten them once this year. That shit is rough, right?
Yeah, dog.
But it just shows you how good Atlanta is, right? They're the first team to win 60 games so far this season. Nobody else is even close. Well, they're close. Tampa Bay has 58, but they had to get into a hot streak to get up there. But Atlanta's just been dominant, straight up.
But there's a big difference between the two franchises. Yes. Not just in terms of talent. I'm not going to get into the X's and O's of our pitchers and their pitchers and all that stuff, but culturally, you talk about culture. And the Braves have a phenomenal baseball culture in Atlanta. They sell out pretty much every single game. It's like a place to be. It has that environment like your Chicago, at Wrigley or Boston at Fenway. That's what the Braves have cultivated there. So much so where people go there and it's like, oh shit, I'm a Braves fan now.
Yeah.
They have fun and it's a winning product and it historically has been a winning organization. So it's. That's one of the main things that separates us and them is we don't have that culture yet.
For sure. And we're on our way to building it, right? And I feel like this season is a really good platform for them to jump off and head into that direction because, like I was saying earlier, we have all these pieces in place, right? And now is when it's starting to come together in order to get the wins to help compete or be like a team like the Braves. You mentioned it. The Braves have won multiple World Series, compete in the playoffs every other year, have had 90 win seasons a bunch of times. Like, those are things that teams have to aspire to, especially when you're like the Marlins, right? That you have so much talent scattered, but you have the talent.
And a good future.
Correct.
At least.
No. The prospect of a good future.
Correct. Yeah, there it is. That's the proper phrasing for that.
Right? And just the fact that they've been able to win games, bro, and stay in competitive baseball form is amazing,
Oh, go ahead and let it out, big fella.
Yeah. We're heading into the All-Star break with the most wins that we've had as a franchise.
Ever at the break?
At the break, 53 wins.
This Marlins team right now currently.
53 wins, bro.
I was thinking that, man, because that's up there. Like, how many games over 500 is that? Is that 15 games over 500?
Correct.
Or more?
Yeah. No.
We're 53 and
14,
what?
29. 39, excuse me, 14 games.
So, I mean, that's remarkably way above what I had for the Marlins. I think anybody had for the Marlins at this point in the season.
Absolutely, man. Joel, when we can go back and look at the episodes that we did when the Marlins season was starting. We were like, just keep us in
500.
Keep
just
it at
be 500
500
and in the mix, and
people will look and just check the box score and be like, oh yeah, let me flip this channel and see, oh, the Marlins are losing, winning, whatever. But they're still a 500 team. Now everybody's invested because we have a bunch of things, like I said, below the surface that add actual depth and, substance to this team that we have right now. Luis Arraez battling, like trying to get to 400 is fucking amazing, bro. Incredible. I don't even know what word to use because it hasn't even been done in such a long time. This is a game that really, really matters. I take that back. This is a game that really stands on its statistics, right? Like, and the history of its statistics. And for Luis Arraez to be really close, really, really close to making major league history is wild. And obviously, it catches the national attention, a guy who's batting 400. But then you look at a guy like Yuri Perez. This kid has come in and won a bunch of games for us. He won 5 games for us, has left with a 5-3 record before getting designated back down to AAA. And the only reason why he was designated, a lot of people were kind of speculating like, is it the 2 losses? Right. Is it the back-to-back losses? Because he was 5-1 and then had 2 back-to-back losses. But they also, the baseball business side of it, right? Where you kind of want to keep his rights as a rookie type pitcher, not, get his innings all the way up, get all his games played to kind of play the contract game, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's the reason why. But even in his last start against Philadelphia, he only gave up 1 run. He only gave up 1 run, and we lost that game 3-0.
This is a 20-year-old kid we're talking about.
20-year-old kid. And we just drafted another high school pitcher and another of pitchers. We'll get to them.
Right, because the MLB draft is weird. At least
super weird.
Basketball, NBA draft is after the season.
Yes.
NFL draft is right before the season. Right? Or the NBA. No, actually, the NBA draft happened during the playoffs.
Well, no, it's after the season. The finals were over, and then the NBA draft happened.
It's the draft lottery.
Correct. The lottery happens, and then
the draft happens after the season. For the NFL, it's before the season.
Correct.
I guess both, depending how you look at it, but whatever.
Whatever. But it's not happening during the season.
Correct. Like the MLB.
This is the only sport that shit happens.
And with our first round pick, right? That was our first round. We drafted a kid out of high school.
Yep. Noble Myers at a high school in Oregon, 10th overall.
Pitcher?
A pitcher. By all means, ace, from what everybody is saying. This guy has all of the tools and the skills and the wherewithal mentally to be an ace. He's a kid who really commands his pitches, doesn't get rattled too much, can give up a hit, 2 hits, a big hit, whatever, comes back in and locks down, has a fastball that can reach triple digits potentially. So he has skills, he has talent. But with a high school pitcher, you're not going to see that guy in most teams for 5 years, 6 years, if he even makes the debut with the team that drafted him. Because you and I know in baseball, you're always trading prospects, right?
Yeah.
We're trading prospects for this player or whatever. I just think that the Marlins are recognizing this is the type of stuff we have to do where we draft players who fit our mold in order to bring them up earlier and have them contribute to the team that we have, knowing that we're not going to be able to pay a huge payroll. And if you look at the Marlins payroll right now, it's not, you can Google it right now.
We have the lowest payroll in the
We're in the bottom 5 every year. Why? Because we just happen to run our baseball team like that, whatever reason it is. But now it's different because there's a formula behind it.
Well, I mean, you can't get fans in the stands. You can't justify paying a big contract to these players. You got to work with what you got. Yeah, you got a budget. But, yeah, man, if he's a top 10 overall pick.
Stud.
There's big expectations for that, Granted, obviously, I understand what you're saying. We might never see this guy, but at least it tells you that the Marlins, are willing to take some risks right now, especially with the draft. I mean, and that's what we've always been able to do is bring up these guys, these not undrafted, but these guys that we draft and we grow internally, and then turn around and trade them away, and they become Cy Young Award winners.
Yeah, like Miguel Cabrera. Christian Yelich.
I don't want to get into all that right now, but
I get you. I get it. I get you. But the difference is that, again, I think that this Marlins franchise right now, the way that they're operating is towards the sense of like, let's build towards the future while being competitive right now. We have enough to be competitive right now, but let's keep adding. Let's keep adding. Let's keep adding.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, man. And you got to bring up players, bro. You got to bring up players that, again, fit your roster, fit your vision, fit your direction, right? Like all these, words that people use, but they hold some type of value because at the end of the day, when you do have those things or when you're applying that, you become more successful. Doesn't mean you're going to win a fucking World Series. It doesn't work like that. You need a lot of luck, a lot of things to fall in the right place, right? Win games. But the Marlins are starting to do those things that can help you get to that place where you have a chance to make it to the World Series,
or at the very least, when you go to the
playoffs,
when you go, if you are gonna give the Marlins a chance, you're not a baseball fan. You say, you know what, I don't have a team. Let me go look at this. It's my local team, and you can go there and have a good time because the ambiance is great. But also, the team is a winning team, and you don't have to root for the opposing team. Like the majority of fans that go to that stadium right now,
right?
That's what they are. They're there to see the other team. That's the reality of it. And I dream of a day where that stadium is full and it's Marlins fans. 80%.
80%.
80% Marlins fans. Which that'd be spectacular. But let's be real, man. There's a lot of games, Dolphins games. There's a lot of Marlins games. The Heat games is a little bit different.
Heat games are probably usually 90% Heat
I would say the Heat are the ones where you have the least amount of the opposing fan there.
For sure.
We have the best home fan.
Panthers,
I would say Dolphins are up there. Panthers are. Away fans travel really, really well, man. A lot of those franchises in the NHL.
But I feel like the Panthers over the last 4 years have done a good job
of
building up the home base, right? So now, even in the playoffs, we saw it. Yeah. Like they were making it difficult for the traveling fans to come down here and buy a ticket because guess what? All the Panthers fans already bought them.
Yeah, I can see that. Marlins are definitely
at the bottom.
The bottom of that, or at the top. They're the worst. They're the worst at having home fans in the stadium, man, and it's sad. But hopefully now this is the start of it. This is by no means are we saying, this is it. We're good to go. Like, no. Yeah. They have a lot to prove to us as fans.
For sure.
And this is a phenomenal start. We were coming off 2 years ago, COVID, our first playoff appearance. Our last year under the old regime, let's just call it that, right? Yep. With Don Mattingly. He's gone. Now we bring in Skip Schumacher, and in that first year, we're having results, man. We're having results.
You know what? We mentioned it briefly on the last episode, but Skip Schumacher really does deserve some type of Coach of the Year credit, dog. Like, he has to be mentioned within those circles because all these things that we know as hardcore Marlins fans, the limited budget, the different direction, the unavailability of players or having star players, guys who can really hit 50 home runs, all of these things that would be working against him. And he's used it as a positive to say, this is the type of team we're going to beat. This is a team that hits for average. Like, we've
talked about it. We have two players that have over double-digit home runs this year.
That's it.
That's what we talked about last week, right?
That's it. And now.
But we're just very efficient at bat.
And we win close games. I went back and did a little bit of research. We're 29-13 this season so far in games decided by 2 runs or fewer. That's clutch.
Yeah,
that's enough. And forget clutch. That's just having self-belief to say, no matter what the circumstances in this close game, we have enough to go out there and win it.
Yeah, so you got another note here too. We've also hit 50 home runs as a team on the road.
Banging them.
That means we can do it.
We feel comfortable, whether it's here in our park or it's there in your park. Because 50 home runs is a lot for an away team, dog.
That is a lot.
It's not crazy, but it's a lot. It's not nothing to scoff at and be like, just 50 home runs. Bullshit.
No, that right there is a great stat line because that keeps us in games right there, especially on the road. And you 50% of your games are on the road.
Absolutely. So and not only that, and for the road, I feel like what it does is it puts the pressure on the home team that's hosting us, right? To say, Coño, now we gave the home run. Now the Marlins are in this game. Now we know that they're good at close run games. We got to watch ourselves. We can't make mistakes. We can't let this guy steal second base because if he does, they're going to bring him in. And those are the positions where we're putting teams on the defensive instead of us usually being on the defensive. Coño, let's not blow this save. You know what I mean? Right. Like something like that. Damn, we can't take Sandy out because if we bring in the bullpen, they're definitely going to give up 2 runs. We're not in those positions anymore. And I think we have to give credit to the manager first and foremost and to the rest of the organization second. for taking us out of that fucking cave that we were in. Now we're starting to see the light, and we're able to win series, dog. We've won 17 series this year.
Yeah, the last one that we had was nice against the Phillies. Again, they came out, they won the first one. But the Phillies, another great team. You go to that game, it's all Phillies fans.
More than 70% of the stadium was fucking packed with Philly fans, which is okay.
They win the first one, 3 or 4-3.
Yep.
With somebody familiar to us.
God damn it,
leading them.
Real Muto, dog. That guy.
That's the guy I wish we never would have lost.
That's one that hurts because
Yelich.
Bro, Yelich, yes, right, because of what he turned out to be. But I always felt like Real Muto was a locker room guy, the heart. You know what I mean? Like the guy who's gonna stand up and kick somebody's ass if they have to. I always felt that way about JT Realmuto. And then when we lost him, it was like, fuck, that shit hurt. And look, he's always come back to hurt us. But like we talked about, between ourselves, the ability of the Marlins to bounce back. Get swept by Atlanta, go out there and win 3 or 4 against St. Louis. Right? And we lose the last game of the series, which was it was a 4-game series, but that was the game that Yuri pitched amazing and he still lost. You know what I mean? And we just didn't have the run support. We ended up losing 3-0. But in those first 3 games against the Phillies, against St. Louis, we scored 30 runs, including 2 games where we put double digits. Game 2, we had 15 runs, 19 hits, and then game 3, we had 10 runs.
Game 3 was wild because we had no business letting them get back in that game, and they did, and then we were behind. And then a wild way to end the game on an error.
Dog, that's the game that you and I we were recording.
Yeah, exactly.
And you keep giving the update. So when I get in my car and I go home, I'm like,
that's exactly right.
We're up 7-0, 7-1. Shit's a wrap.
That's exactly right.
Get to the garage, park the car, get inside the crib, and I'm like, wait a second. What happened here? This shit is fucking 8-8. What happened here? And sure enough, St. Louis came back. But the Marlins keeping the pressure on these teams. Getting base runners, forcing the pitchers to throw something, forcing players to do something that, causes them to think. And that's exactly what happened. The bases had 2 guys on base, 1 on second, 1 on third. A little hit back to the pitcher. He's thinking about it, looking around the bases, throws the ball away. Fucked up. Both of the runs scored. And those are the games that the Marlins are going to win because, again, we never give up on games. Now, that game that we lost against Philadelphia to start the home series.
Yeah,
right?
Sorry, I kind of went out of order there.
It's okay. We lost 3-4, right? And even still, they had to hit a home run, a 2-run home run in the top of the 9th off of AJ Puck in order to win that game.
Right.
And even still, the Marlins in the bottom still were able to get 2 base runners on. They weren't able to bring them in because one got hit into a double play and the other guy just got on and the game was over after that.
Yeah, Sandy had a good game.
But Sandy pitched an incredible game. That's the guy that we haven't really spoken about too much in a positive light here on the show.
Little by little, you've been ramping up more.
He's been playing, because he's been pitching better.
He started off slow. Now he's kind of getting back into what we know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And I love to see it. So that game hurt a little bit more just because it would have been like, damn, we would have won 6 out of 7 games had we won that game, right? And it would have been, we're a half game closer to Atlanta, a half game farther from everybody else in the wild card. Right. So like it would have mattered, and it does matter. But just the fact that the Marlins are able to bounce back off of games like that, where your closer gets rattled, he gives up a 2-run home run, the bullpen is shaky, nobody really had a good day at the plate, and then you come back and you end Philly's 13-game road winning streak by beating them, fairly handily. Pretty much all by Soler. Hit a home run, had 2 singles that day, had a sac fly RBI, like just timely hitting. And it's never one guy. It's always a combination of guys that kind of contribute. And that day, we were just able to be the better team, the better baseball team. Because sometimes baseball is all about manufacturing runs, dog. It can't be all about the long ball.
The long run, yes, we have to do it as a team cumulatively. But like you said, sometimes it is going to be just one individual.
Facts. It is. And look, Jorge Soler deserves our praise right now.
Yeah.
Right? Because we were like, bro, where's the Jorge Soler that we were promised? Where's the guy who can hit 20 home runs? And not saying that I needed 20 home runs from Soler, but I needed him to be productive. And what he's giving us now is way beyond the regular production that we were hoping for, right? Because this guy has not only had big home runs, he's also had timely doubles. This is a dude who I think he's 2nd or 3rd on the team with doubles hit this season. That's amazing because he's not a fast guy, but he's putting the ball into the gaps where he can make it to second base.
He buys enough time.
Enough time. Another guy we got to talk about, one who had an amazing, day on Sunday versus the Phillies to close them out as we won 7-2-3. That's Brian De La Cruz. Usually when you think of De La Cruz, you think a good glove. Right, he's a defensive outfielder, really good with his glove, has a hell of an arm, can throw out guys. Not a problem to have him out there in that ballpark. But this year, he's just stepped it up when it comes to batting, bro. And he's hit timely hits. This game, he went 4 for 4, had 2 singles, a double, and a home run to kind of help the cause. But just the fact that this dude is
You kind of just breezed over that, homie.
Nah, man.
You just kind of breezed over that. You just literally breezed. Read that stat line back, please.
I'm going to read it again.
Read it one more time, dog. Guys, I need you guys to listen to the stat line.
He had a 4-hit game. 2 of the hits were singles. He had a double, and he also hit a home run.
Bro, there's people that play their entire
and don't get
life and don't ever accomplish that in the majors.
And a stat line at that, too.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, dude, that's one
impressive.
game.
It's impressive.
That's huge right there, man.
Just
single-handedly just helped us win that game pretty much.
It just shows you that when you're that confident in yourself, right, and you're just playing more often and you're available, you're not hurt, you're in the outfield making big plays, you're in the outfield making big catches and big assists. That shit helps you at the plate.
Yeah.
And this is not a guy who we are leaning on offensively. This guy's a 279 hitter, only has 10 home runs, but he, more importantly, has 49 RBIs on the season. This is a guy who's batting 6th for us. So if your 6th, 7th batter is having 49 RBIs, kind of shows you how well balanced the offensive production has been on this team so far this season. And most importantly, we're a team that hits for average. We hit the ball. We don't hit the ball super hard, but we hit it enough to get on base and to bring guys in.
What are your thoughts on the Marlins? I don't know if it's the home run chain or...
I kind of like it with the hat, with the straw hat and the big fish.
Yeah.
Man,
I just saw it. I just saw it today for the first time.
Yeah,
I saw the Instagram post.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what you thought about it.
My thoughts on it is I like it because it makes baseball fun. And when you're winning, you kind of want to make it fun. You don't want to be like hit a home run and everybody comes in and it's like a regular high five. No, you want to get hyped up. You want to do something silly. Bring fun, energy. Baseball needs energy. And with this Marlins team, it just shows you that these guys really do like each other. Everybody gets along. There hasn't been not one fucking story that comes up that is like, well, this guy's beefing with this guy. These two guys in the locker room don't really get along. No, everybody there gets along. Again, we're talking about a mixture of cultures, languages. But if somehow, some way it makes sense down here in Miami, right? Because we are such a melting pot.
And we like all that flashy shit. It has to be on the Cuban link.
It has to be.
It
has to be gaudy. It has to be fucking at least 10 inches. You know what I mean?
But yeah, you're absolutely right. That fits the game, fits the persona of these guys. They love to celebrate, and especially when you're winning. You know, if you don't have a reason to bring it out, it makes it a lot worse.
Hey, you're talking about winning,
collecting dust.
You're talking about winning shit. This Marlins team is doing a lot of winning, man. A lot of winning, and I think just winning that last series before the All-Star break against the Phillies was a reminder, right? Like, hey, the job's not done. This is just a halfway point, right? Everybody go get your rest. Luis Arias, you're having an amazing season. Go represent for us. Jorge Soler, go out there and represent for us.
Those are our two All-Stars this year.
Jorge Soler made it as a DH, and Luis Arias is the starting second baseman.
Fantastic.
He deserves it.
Absolutely.
After the season that he's having, come on, dog. Like, you can't name me one other baseball player that deserves a starting spot more than Luis Arias. Dog.
Yeah,
the guy's trying to hit 400, dog. Come on, man. You know?
Historic stuff.
Stuff, dog.
So we got tonight, by the time you listen to this, the home run derby would have happened already.
Correct.
And then you have the All-Star game itself.
Yeah,
which will
on
be
Tuesday.
On Tuesday tonight, by the time you listen to
By the time you're listening. And in the home run derby, you have Luis Robert Jr., who's leading the majors in home runs. He's taking on Adley Rutschman. Pete Alonso taking on Julio Rodriguez. Mookie Betts versus Vlad Guerrero Jr. I'm excited to see that one, as a matter of fact. And Adolis Garcia versus Randy Arozarena. Who cares?
Nobody,
because none of our Marlins are in there.
What I want to know is, what do we got? When do we come back from this little break? When's the next Marlins game?
The next Marlins game, I know that we start the series against Baltimore. So we're starting the second half of the season on the road. 2 back-to-back on the road, as a matter of fact.
Let's do it.
First game will be July 14th. So at the end of this week.
Okay.
Friday.
All right. That's a quick turnaround.
It's a quick turnaround. And better for us because when you're hot, you want to stay hot. You want,
my point.
You got to keep that momentum going. And more importantly, I feel like this break is going to help out a lot of our major players, right? We talked about Jazz on the last episode. He's coming on. He's going to be able to come off the DL, the 15-day DL that he was placed on for the mild oblique strain. Hopefully he gets to rest. He doesn't have to worry about going to the All-Star game like he did last year and do the pictures and the this and the that and the other. He gets to focus on getting healthy and getting back to playing baseball, right? Which is obviously what we want. I just saw today that Johnny Cueto is also, nearing a return here for the Marlins. That's another arm that we can use. Not necessarily as our number 2, number 3 guy, but shit, go out there and get some innings, right? If we need you out the bullpen, go be the bullpen guy, whatever, right? Especially if we do make the playoffs and we get into that mode. That's just another arm that we have, right? Who's another one that I'm missing? Shit.
Players that are out there to come back?
Yeah, man. There was one more, dog. Damn it.
You just said Jazz, Cueto.
Oh, Jonathan Davis went down. Nardi, he went down on the 15-day DL, right? He's a big piece of the bullpen, Andrew Nardi. He'll be back by the time the All-Star break is over. So this break is coming at a good time for some of our major players. Nardi has been an amazing relief pitcher. Wow.
There you go.
There it is. Relief pitcher for us this year. He has 3 wins, a really good ERA under 3. I think he has 4 or 6 saves on the season. This guy's been balling for us. Again, the bullpen, dog. The bullpen has been
that's been the biggest difference.
Biggest difference, bro.
Yeah, if somebody asks, hey, how are the Marlins doing? No, they're doing great this year. They're winning. Really? Weren't they struggling a little bit last year? Like, yeah. Like, all right, what's the biggest difference?
Yeah.
Bullpen.
For sure.
I think that's the biggest difference, man. Because we were in games. There was tons of games where we were in them, and then the batting too, I think, But if you had to just pick one, I would probably say bullpen. The fact that we're able to save games. There were so many games we just couldn't save last year.
And this is coming off of pitchers like Sandy could have probably really won another 4 or 5 games last year. T-Rock could have won another 4 or 5 games last year. That's another guy who's missing right now that in the second half of the season is going to be like a trade that we picked up because it's like, oh, here's a starting pitcher for free. It's like, great, put him in there. Cueto, same thing. Oh, put him in there, right? Now, the difference with this team from last year is that they are able to win those close games. And that record that we stated earlier, I think it was what?
53 and 39?
29 and 13 in 2-run in games decided by 2 runs or less. That's huge. That's what leads you to win 17 of the series that you've been in so far this season. And the only series that we've really been dominated in is against Atlanta.
Yeah.
So every other series, we have a shot, and we're more than likely going to win it. Makes me feel really confident about this baseball team, dog.
Oh, yeah. And
in the direction that they're going, because you and I, who really look at this team in depth, right? We couldn't have foreseen this. To say, in the first year of Schumacher, they're going to be leading the team, one of the best teams in the NL, 50-something wins with fucking Sandy Bean, whatever, as a pitcher. There's no way we would have thought that.
No, I wouldn't have put money on that bet.
Hell no, right? But now we see it, and it's like, yo, this team could come back next year exactly how it is because we don't have now one person making major big bucks, so we can bring everybody back or add pieces.
Well, that's also
right?
That also could be a problem. People that are playing well could go out and get deals if they're not under contract,
which is okay because at least it shows that you're a competitive squad, and if that spot empties out, you'll have a free agent that says, "I like what the Marlins are doing." This team, this franchise, they're heading in the right direction. They're taking care of their players. They're investing into the facility. They're investing into the fans. They're investing. I want to be a part of that. And I mentioned the fans, investing in the fans, because of how the Marlins have made going to the games so affordable. You have the 4 for $44. Any day of the week on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can get a ticket for $7. You know what I mean? Like parking is $5 in certain places. They made it very affordable to follow this team as is right now. And if you haven't already, you need to start doing so. Because that whole ballpark this entire weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, was packed. I think it was like 16, 19 for Saturday, and like 20 for Sunday, as far as attendance goes. Yes, Some of them are Philly fans, right? A good majority of it is Philly fans. But you know what? Marlins fans are starting to show up. Because when the Marlins get hits, it's loud. When they hit a home run, it's loud. So, and just by watching on TV, you can feel the energy that's in there. When Sandy's on his shit, loud. Yuri's pitching, loud. Even Braxton Garrett, that guy's getting a lot of love from the Marlins fans because of how he's been able to pitch for us. So I think that this second half, we're going to see an improvement from the fan base. We're really going to see the fan base start to buy in, start to go to more games, make it fun, make it an event. And as long as the Marlins are keeping the product on the field good, then the Marlins fans, the hardcore Marlins fans, are going to show up. Now, once they start winning playoff series and they're competing for a championship, that's when the bandwagons start to come. But as far as their core, they're slowly starting to bring people back in. And it's because of the moves that they made. So, got to give a big shout out to the Marlins, man. And Kim Ang. You know, I personally had a lot of questions about how she was going to be able to lead this team and this franchise after the Derek Jeter shit. Right? Because it ended dirty. It was kind of a bunch of they did this, I didn't do this, and vice versa, talking shit behind each other's back. And the way that the Marlins and Kim Ang have dealt with that and come out on the other side, looks like everything is working out for them, bro. And I'm excited to see it, bro. Beyond being a Marlins fan, just for baseball in itself down here in South Florida, because I know it's such a popular sport. I love to see baseball really growing. Right? And I love to see all of our major teams doing well. Not only does it give us content, yes, but as a regular sports fanatic that loves to watch TV 24/7 and watch sports 24/7, I like to see the Marlins doing good. I like to see the Panthers doing good. I like to see the Dolphins doing good. I like to see the Heat doing good. That shit makes my existence as a sports fan a lot easier. Though.
Anybody, bro. Anybody.
You know what I mean?
That second half, man. Second half strong.
Second half is going to be strong. And again, I think that the Marlins are in a really good position where they built up the kind of the fortitude, the mental fortitude to say, let's go after this, man, because we're definitely in a position where we can make some noise and make some damage, bro. Quick 6-game road game schedule coming up. Got 3 at Baltimore and then 3 at St. Louis by the time we're back next week to record. And then they come home to face the Rockies before heading out on the road to face Tampa. But we got a good little, at the end of July, start of August, we got a good little homestand. We got Detroit coming in, got Philadelphia coming back. So I'm interested to see how that goes. And, real quick note on that Philly scene. I mentioned it earlier, but like they had won 13 games on the road before they faced the Marlins. So this is not a team that was just in the bottom of the divisions. No, these dudes are creeping. They're creeping on the wild card.
They were hot at the right time.
They were hot at the right time, and on top of that, they are hot at the right time because they're in the wild card hunt. So if it was other teams like slacking or whatever, Philly is coming right back there. Just so you have an idea, Marlins are leading the wild card. Arizona's also in that wild card spot, and then you have San Francisco, tied pretty much with Arizona, and Philadelphia half a game back, Milwaukee half a game back. These are 4 teams, right? 5 teams that are going to be competing for those 2 spots. And the fact that the Marlins are leading the race and probably the best out of all those teams, if we're speaking realistically, is crazy to me. And it just shows, we're talking about teams that are spending a lot of good teams there. Teams that are spending money, Jay, and we don't spend that money down here. And I don't think we ever will spend money down here like that. But it's nice, bro. It's just nice because I can't remember the last time that I cared this much about Marlins baseball. And that's wild because we have a podcast.
I guess, it's winning, man. Winning cures all.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. And I hope that the Marlins can continue to win after the All-Star break. Luis Arias can have a good showing out there in Seattle. Home run derby, hopefully it's not whack. We'll see how the game goes. You never know, bro. Winner, I think, gets to host the World Series, right? I think the winner of the All-Star game, they still do that shit?
I don't know. I don't think that's even a thing anymore.
No, I know it was a thing, but I don't know if they'd still do that. You know what I mean? As far as who gets home.
Yeah, you're talking about that one game of home field for their conference or whatever.
Could be the Marlins playing at Marlins Stadium. Lone Depot Park. Excuse me. Lone Depot Park. I'd rather go back to the days where it was Joe Robbie, but that's just me.
Because then you would still have the Orange Bowl around. So
there you go.
Good point.
There you go. Let's jump into our next topic, man. UFC 290 That shit was fire. And it was fire because the card was really stacked with names, but you didn't know how all the fights were going to turn out. You didn't really know, you know what I mean? Like, who was fighting who, and is this guy going to be able to really be good? But every single fucking fight that was on there was amazing. This was one of the few fights, right, where the early prelims are fire, have a knockout within a knockout and a submission in the early prelims. Same thing in the regular prelims, a knockout and a submission, and then in the main event you get all of that. And in the main event, I think, what was it? You had 4 knockouts in under a minute in the first round. What on a card? How do you give a fight bonus there? Who wins fight of the night?
Everybody. Split that.
Split pot. Split that money, dog. But that shit was fire, man. The main event of the UFC 290 was Alexander the Conqueror, or whatever the fuck his nickname is, Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez, who was the interim champ.
You're gonna go straight into the main event?
No. I'm just saying he was the interim champ. So you had champ versus champ. But I think the best fight for me was the fight of the night, and we'll get to it. But I will tell you that I was impressed with Bo Nickel. I don't know if you recall this conversation when one of the times we were chilling with Jesse. Yeah. Shout out to Jesse, man. Doing this thing. I see you, my boy, overseas. He mentioned the name Bo Nickel, and he was like, "This is a guy you guys got to look out for." And when Jesse says some shit like that, you got to kind of make that note and keep an eye on him. Always. This dude went out there and fucking flatlined Val Woodburn, who was a replacement fighter. You know, the other guy he was supposed to face got cut or injured and he couldn't make the fight. So Bo was on Twitter and Instagram and all this stuff like Monday, Tuesday of last week, saying like, shit, I hope they find me an opponent. I really I got ready for this fight, so I really want to break it down. And Woodburn stepped up, from Apopka, Florida. So you had 2 Florida boys going at it. And what impressed me about Bo is how relaxed this guy is. He's not necessarily like a knockout guy. He's not a striker in that game, but those punches that he landed on this guy's face was so flush, dog, that it made me hurt. And then I'm thinking this fight is over in like 30-something seconds, 40-something seconds. It was literally that quick. And in my mind, I'm thinking, dog, who wants to fight this guy? If Bo Nichols is the hot name and he's been winning every single time since he's got it on the UFC, he's on a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC right now. And he's been impressing every single time. Hasn't even gotten to 3 rounds. Not once. Okay? Who the fuck wants to fight this guy? And this dude is in a stacked weight division. So I'm kind of looking out to see what else. Curious. Gonna be? Yeah, man, because
I'm sure we gotta get Jesse.
I gotta talk to Jesse, bro.
We gotta get Jesse's insight on that.
Absolutely. Oh, and I gotta mention one more thing about the prelims. Robbie Lawler, the legend. Robbie Lawler announced his retirement after his welterweight win in impressive form, where he knocked out Nick Price, another knockout, right, in under a minute in the first round. Literally put him to sleep real quick, which was the perfect way for Robbie Lawler to finish his career. There's a guy who's been a warrior, literally a warrior, has been in some wars inside that octagon, has knocked fools the fuck out, has gotten knocked out himself, but a guy who's always willing to step up to the challenge, a guy who's always willing to make weight, be a professional, not have any drama, and just go out there and put on a show every single time, win or lose for the fans. That guy is going to go into the Hall of Fame like this, and he deserves it, man. So shout out to Robbie Lawler, bro. What an impressive win. But the fight that really got me going, and it was kind of controversial at the end, what happened here, was the Robert Whittaker fight versus, I'm going to murder this.
Duplessis.
But it's Drisk. I think it's Drisk. His first name is pronounced Drisk. This fight was in the middleweight division, which he's the champion, right? And we saw Alex Pereira. He moved up to the heavier weight. 205.
Light heavyweight,
right? And in this fight, Robert Whittaker was the number 2 contender. And this was the guy who was kind of the champ before, lining himself up by beating a bunch of guys in order to get to back to this title contention shot, right? Or the winner of this fight is definitely going to get a shot at Izzy, and got himself there after losing the belt, which is hard as hell to do. And now you're fighting a guy from South Africa who has been on fire in Duplessis. And this dude Duplessis really impressed. He really, really impressed, because Robert Whittaker's no joke. You know, like I said, I just rambled off all his accolades, and then for Duplessis to go out there and just fucking manhandle him like the way he did, ragdoll him, you know, threw him on the ground, had a knockdown, took him down, completely stifled all his striking attempts. And Robert Whittaker is known for his wrestling and his striking. Got his ass whooped by Duplessis, and Duplessis looked comfortable. And for me, a telltale sign as far as when I know this dude is comfortable is when he takes a shot and still walks forward, right? Like a guy hits him with a hard ass right hook and he goes, that was nice. What else do you got? When I saw Duplessis do that in the first 30 seconds, and Robert Whittaker has knocked fools out, when I saw him eat that punch, I was like, Robert Whittaker's in trouble, because he just gave him his best punch and Buddy ain't even flinch. He didn't even flinch. And Duplessis just went out there and handled his business, bro, and acted like a real professional, because you know how it goes. The fight's over. Joe Rogan walks in. He's going to do the post-fight interview real quick, right? And kind of get the thoughts on the fighter. And this dude just, you know, gave a lot of respect to Robert Whittaker, and then, you know, shouted out his family and all this stuff. And then Joe asked him, what about your potential fight with Izzy? Izzy's a great man, a great champion, but I'm ready for the challenge, whatever. Izzy comes in the ring, and this is when things got controversial, right? Izzy says he's an African, right? Claims to be African, holds that down, right? Him and Gato and Usman were the guys kind of like bearing the flag for the continent of Africa, right? Izzy's was born in Nigeria, I think, right? And grew up in New Zealand, and then obviously came to the States, had some Chinese, and started doing martial arts. But Duplessis is born and raised in South Africa, so he's like, I'm trying to bring the belt back to Africa, the real Africa, you know what I mean? And Izzy didn't like that. And Izzy came in and was like, I'm going to show you Africa, and started dropping the N-word and shit. So I was like, yo, they're selling a fight, and then there's racial overtures. And I felt like Izzy was starting the wrong path for this rematch. You know what I mean? Not for this rematch.
To pull up some audio for us?
I mean, are we going to be able to bleep it out? Unless it's bleeped out, don't play it, dog, because we're not trying to get in trouble here, dog. Go ahead, play it. Fuck it. Why not, dog?
You think we're going
to play it.
See? I want to see here.
Well, you set it up.
I got to get,
go ahead and set it up. But we're going to play the sound for you guys. But like I said, I just think that Izzy approached this fight in the wrong way, because now he's making it a black-white thing. And that shouldn't be the case. It should be, you know, Nigeria versus South Africa type shit. You know what I mean? Not, this dude's a poser and he's trying to be an African, but he's white. I'm an African and I look like an African. But if you look at Izzy, he doesn't look like an African, dog. The guy paints his nails, rocks big ass chains, you know, dresses, you know, in really cool fashion, watches anime. Like, he's not your normal guy. Oh shit, here we go. So this was right after Duplessis gave Adesanya his respects as far as being a champion and for the title.
Relax.
Hold on.
This is my African brother right here. Let's go. What's up? Let's go. Yeah. What's up? Get this. Don't do. Yeah, my African brother.
That's awkward.
Right? And again, dog, I'm not black. You know, 23andMe says I got about 30%, 40% in me, 50%. That's cool. But these guys are trying to sell a fight. You're not trying to sell a racial war. You know what I mean? Like dropping the N-word, dog.
That might do it right there.
Oh, for sure. If this was like the first of the many times that they're gonna stand in front of each other for the next 2-3 months, like, what else can be said, dog? Like, for you to drop the N-word, dog, like, you know that you're taking it an extra level when you do that, especially in the ring. You know it's pay-per-view. You know everybody's watching.
He might be taking offense to this, you know, this is a white guy,
but he's a real,
claiming Africa. Like, what are you trying to say, bro? Like, Africa in the zeitgeist is like, you identify a black person with Africa. You know what I mean?
For
so
sure.
maybe he's taking some of that, or even maybe he's possibly just kind of leaning into this to do exactly what we're doing right now.
Talk about it.
Sell the fight. Have us talk about it. Build it up for them. Maybe Izzy's gone full heel. A la wrestling.
Maybe.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. And that's his way of doing it now.
I guess.
Maybe a little bit of both.
I guess. But do you think that Izzy needs to do that to sell a fight?
I don't think he does, but I don't think it hurts. Honestly. I don't think it hurts. I think it's great.
I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest with you, because
it's just a little, when I said awkward, it's awkward for Duplessis who's sitting there going, yeah, this is for Africa. And he's going, yeah, Edward.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but this dude is a real African. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
he was born there, dog, and raised there. He never left the continent.
South Africa.
He's from South Africa, dog. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want him to say? That he's white? He's not white, He's African. But I guess that's what's going to make the fight interesting, And I really do think that at his size, he's big enough at 6 feet to kind of give Izzy a little bit of problems. Izzy's 6'3", 6'4". So his height and his weight usually gives a lot of people problems. I don't know, man. I don't know if Izzy needed to do that, because now I think that Izzy's going to make himself to look like a little bit, like you said, the heel and be the bad guy. And usually that's not his strength. That's not his forte. He's usually the cool guy, the easygoing guy. I'm cool with all my fans. You know what I mean? I respect dudes. I'm all about the art. And now he's taking it to a different direction, one that we haven't seen from him. And I just don't know if it was appropriate for that specific moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Definitely controversial, because I know a lot of people are going to be talking about that moving forward, bro. Let's jump into the fight of the night. Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Moreno. Pantoja's Brazilian, Moreno representing the country of Mexico. And man, Moreno has been through some fucking wars, dude, to get to that back.
2-3 years, he's been tearing it up.
Tearing it up, man, and fighting the same guy pretty much over and over again.
Probably, you consider him one of the top guys in the UFC overall, as far as like selling fights and like product that, as fighter, pound for pound, like all that stuff. Like, he's one of the top guys.
He's definitely going to sell tickets. You know what I mean? When you're talking about bringing in fans, right, from all over the world, or bringing in pay-per-view fights, Brandon Moreno is definitely going to do that, because he fights. He's not a guy who just takes it easy. He's not a guy who's like, I'll take the weakest challenger. Nah, this guy's always para la guerra. You know what I mean? Always guerrero for real. And bro, he ran into a fucking animal in Pantoja, dog, because I didn't know this until they mentioned it. This is the third time that they had fought professionally. Once was like on Tough, The Ultimate Fighter. The other time was like one of those elimination matches or whatever, when they were both starting their careers early in UFC. And this was going to be the third fight, fighting for the belt. And Pantoja, in his last fight, bro, he really did impress. Really did impress. So that's why he got the shot. And people were willing to see, like, damn, is he going to be able to do it for the third time? Maybe Brandon has an idea of what he needs to change as far as his game plan in order to get the dub against Pantoja. Bro, but something that I said earlier, this dude Pantoja is not a guy who's going to take no for an answer. And in the first 40 seconds of the fight, Brandon Moreno has some pop, real knockout power. In the first 30, 40 seconds of the fight, Brandon Moreno gives him a nice right hook. Bam! Pantoja just eats that shit. Walks straight forward like, bro, you're going to have to kill me. Kill me to get this dub, dog. And he kept coming forward.
What have I done?
Kept coming forward. And believe it or not, dog, in that fight game, most of it is mental. Yeah, you gotta have the skills and the wherewithal, but you're thinking. You're in a live chess match here, right? And that shit has to do something
very quickly.
Yeah, right. And that shit has to do something to your confidence to be like, I gave this guy one of my best fucking shots.
It's gonna be a long fight.
It's gonna be a long fight, and it was. It went all the way to the end. Pantoja was definitely the better striker. I felt like he not only did he knock him down in one of the moments, right, where he shook him, but I just think that his punches had way more power. Besides being effective, they were very powerful punches, and they really drained Moreno, man. Because in those first 3 rounds that Pantoja was putting it on him, Brandon Moreno couldn't really get any type of offense off. And that shit sucks when you're the champion and you're losing round after round after round. You're kind of depleted. You're in the back of your mind when the 5th round starts. You're like, bro, I need a knockout here, right? Because I know it's
Too
not
far
close.
behind.
I know it's not close. Even if I were to win these next 2 rounds, it's not close. I got to get the knockout.
Yeah.
And it's just he couldn't put that pressure on him, and it looked like Pantoja wasn't gonna fold, man. And this is a dude, Pantoja, man, who's he trains down here at ATT, American Top Team. This is a guy who's really gone through every single rough patch in order to make it to the UFC. And when you're fighting in the flyweight and the featherweights, you necessarily aren't the most popular, right? The UFC isn't really paying attention to those guys like they're paying attention to the heavyweights and the middleweights, right? And the light heavyweights. So you have to go out there and perform every single time. You have to go out there and win and consistently win. And that's all this dude did, man. He's been on a fucking tear as of late, and he really deserved the decision. It was a split decision, but I felt like it could have been a unanimous decision in his favor because of how he's won. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Now he's on a 4-fight win streak. And every time that he's fought, he's impressed. His last 2 fights were submissions, both within 2 rounds. So the last one being within the 1st round. So, this is a dude who is really at the top of his game right now. And you saw that in the fight against Moreno, because Moreno is also a guy who's at the top of his game right now. But I just feel like Moreno was a little bit exhausted of being in so many wars, right? I felt like Moreno was looking to finish his fight early and get out of there and get it done with. And when he didn't make it out of the 2nd round, right, with the knockout, or the 3rd round with the knockout, he knew he was going to lose that fight. And Pantoja knew that he had the advantage. You could just tell, man, that the momentum has shifted and Pantoja really just took over, man. So I'm really happy for him because, he's a guy, like I said, that has been through it. I saw a little bit of his personal story. Same thing like Moreno, why, and one of the main reasons why I like and love watching Brandon Moreno fight. These guys are coming out here to entertain. They're not coming out here to just fucking dilly-daddle and, kind of not take damage. Nah, They're walking forward. They're willing to get punched. They're willing to give punches. They're willing to get kicked. They're willing to give kicks. So these guys make for an exciting fight. And honestly, I hope that if not this year, some point early on next year, these guys get a rematch. Maybe not for the belt, because who knows what happens, right? But I got to
see what happens.
We got to see what happens,
both of them.
right? With both of them, because Brandon Moreno is going to have to work his way back up to that challenger spot, and that's a division, like we know, that's full of talent. So, Brandon Moreno just went from being the champ to being 4th in line. That shit sucks, dog.
Rough.
That shit sucks. So
start all over again.
Exactly. So I'm hoping that he can get a win streak and Pantoja keeps the belt until they get a chance to meet each other, because that fight was just simply amazing, man. And it won fight of the night, right? Deservedly so, bro. It was an amazing fight. Let's talk about the main event of the evening in the featherweight division. You have interim champ Yair Rodriguez, who won the belt, while Volkanovski was trying to win the double belt when he fought Makhachev. And when he lost to Makhachev, which is only his 2nd loss as a professional, a lot of people wondered if Volk had lost a little bit of himself. There were a little bit of questions to be like, man, what's losing, in a division that's not yours? What's that going to do to your mental? How do you fight back from that? And he answered everybody's question as far as who is the most dominant force in featherweight history right now. It's got to be Volkanovski, man. Because even in that fight against Makhachev where he went up in weight, the last 3 rounds, he probably won. And it was a real close decision. So imagine if he would have had the double belt, right? And then come back down to fight Yair. How impressive that would have been. But Yair in his own right is a guy who, with such a style that's fan-friendly, goes out there, knocks people out, kicks people in the head. So this dude is always out there putting it on. And, sometimes being in wars can go both ways. When you're the champion and you're in wars and you come out as a champion, you feel better. And you add that, it kind of hardens you a little bit to be like, I know everything that I can go through and then some and still come out on top. When you don't win the belt, you kind of wonder and you have those questions about yourself, like, damn, could I have done this differently? Did I leave anything out there in the ring? But Volk came out and just fucking showed why he's the elite of elite when it comes to the featherweight. And he was dropping bombs on Yair, dog.
I think after that fight, he moved up to the number 2 pound for pound.
He should be number one.
Just
in my
after
opinion.
Johnny Bones Jones, and that's what a lot of the comments that I saw were. There were a lot of people saying he should arguably be number one
because of the amount of fights that this dude has had to go through, dog. Like this, I get it. John Jones is probably he's the LeBron James of UFC, right? Where he's one of one. There never will be another Jones again, right? He's like a Shaq, a Jordan, whatever. But you're talking about Volk and his impressive record. This guy had beat Max Holloway a couple of times. Kicked the shit out of Young for the belt. Whooped the shit out of Brian Ortega to win a unanimous decision.
That was a good fight.
That was a great fight. This dude has fought some killers. You know what I mean? He's fought Max Holloway 3 times, beating him all 3 times. Max Holloway, you know? So it's not a step down ever in competition for this dude. He's always going after the best of the best and saying, let me go out there and whoop this guy. Not split decision, not unanimous decision. I'm going to go out there and finish fights. That's what he did, and that's what he does. I think that he's really showing, you know, that he deserves his spot in the featherweight history books, so to speak. Obviously going to be a Hall of Famer, but at this point, it's like, what else can he do, right? Like, what else can he do? You know, there's a fight that against Topuria, who could possibly be his next matchup. He won against a title contention match against Josh Emmett. You know, he impressed, and he's probably the most likely opponent for Volkanovski, but I don't think that he provides a real threat to Volkanovski, man. This dude is just levels above everybody, bro. Levels above everybody. But Dana White, man, he knows how to put together fucking cards, dog. I swear, he does.
There's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt about that, dog. And even the next one that's coming up, UFC 291, that shit's going to be a banger, dog. That shit's going to be a banger, dog.
That's the John Jones fight?
No. That's Poirier versus Gaethje.
Oh, yes.
The second time that they're fighting for the BMF.
Running it back.
They're running it back. And they have a couple of fights on that card, too, that's going to be pretty spectacular towards the end of the month, July 29th. Pereira is fighting John Blachowicz that night. Great fight. Paulo Costa is making his return. Tony Ferguson making a return. Kevin Holland's making a return on that card. You know,
Didn't Tony Ferguson get arrested recently?
Nah, I think he got in trouble for being drunk, but I don't think that he got arrested. I think they wrote him a citation and shit.
And didn't Paulo Costa take Brian Ortega's girl? And aren't they beefing on Twitter?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
I saw that recently too.
Yeah, right? It's weird, dog. Imagine seeing that shit in the back.
She's a fighter too.
Yeah, but imagine you see that shit backstage, like, yo, this guy's with my ex, dog.
Awkward.
Like, yo, cut, let me talk to you. And what are you gonna do, dog? You're not gonna back down. And both these guys are obviously fighters and good at what they do, but you don't want to fight over a woman, do you?
Depends on the woman.
Depends on the woman. But yeah, that next UFC card is gonna be amazing, man. UFC 291, July 29th from Salt Lake City, Utah. Crazy how the UFC has just expanded to all these places, bro. But it makes sense, man, because it's the sport that brings the most action, you know. And even that day, it's gonna be interesting because July 29th, I think that's the Errol Spence fight too, versus Crawford. That shit's gonna be fire. And of course, I'm gonna be doing the breakdown with Vic. But shout out to Vic, man. You know, he's heading to Australia to cover the Women's World Cup. It's crazy.
Yep,
fucking
Vic,
sick. Man. What the hell was I talking about? Oh, Spencer Crawford.
Yeah.
They're fighting the same night
in Vegas.
So it's going to be interesting to see like
right? Vegas?
Yeah, in Vegas. It's going to be interesting to see like what the numbers do for both events, right? Because this is a stacked card versus pretty much the fight of the year when it comes to boxing after having such an amazing fight and performance between Ryan Garcia and what's his dude's name?
Tank
Davis. That was a great fight. Sold a bunch of pay-per-views. This one's going to be even bigger, so I'm interested to see how that weekend looks, man. Let's give a quick update on the Heat and Dame Lillard. It hasn't happened yet, so that's all we got for you. Even though Dame came out and said it's only Miami, the GM Cronin comes out for Portland and says, you know, I'm willing to wait months to get this trade done, which is obviously bullshit, just positioning. But
and the only other thing is that there are multiple teams that are interested in Tyler Hero and are willing to give up a first-round pick for him,
which is good for the Heat,
which would help facilitate this trade.
Absolutely, man. One thing that I have to ask you though, dog, because I made a post about it and I kind of gave my feedback to Rax and to Puello. Shout out to those guys. The NBA in-season tournament that they're announcing.
I don't want to talk about it. don't want to talk about it, dog.
So weird. So weird, man, and I don't understand it. I kind of want to wait for more information to come out as far as like how this shit's gonna work and what the players think about it. But
what the purpose of it is, like, it's not the NBA championship. Why are they trying to start something new for professionals?
You want my opinion? I think that
in the middle of the NBA season,
I think that they're taking a book out of the Champions League. The Champions League is probably the most popular tournament in the world. Obviously, soccer is the most popular
tournament within a tournament.
But it's a tournament within the regular season of other leagues or whatnot.
Sure.
But the only difference in that is that they figured out the logistics for this shit a long time ago, right? The Champions League, European League, that shit got figured out a long time ago, and it still works till today. They've made changes to it, but it still works till today. They're talking about like these games, this in-season tournament, counting games towards your regular season standings. So like,
yeah, because it's part of the same thing.
You get what I'm saying? So like, it's weird how they're trying to make this shit work. I like the idea of an in-season tournament.
I don't know,
but you got to make that shit different. It can't be the same team that I'm looking at, and that's part of the draw to Champions League, right? You're playing a team from Spain, and your team is a club from England. Cool, England versus Spain, or a team from fucking Saudi Arabia, Africa, whatever. They're all mixed in there.
Sure.
This is the regular fucking season, dog. Like we're seeing the same team that I would have seen on a regular Wednesday night. What's going on?
That's exactly the point. It's like, and why? Like, what is the covetedness of this award? Like, this, you're just gonna make it up and come out with a new trophy. And I saw them premiering, and it had a bunch of the young players around them. You could tell there was no veterans, like long-term veterans. Like, the fuck, like, get that shit out my face, bro. The only thing that matters is the NBA championship.
And even because it's not a big deal because not one person on that fucking stage was even wearing a suit, dog. Like, not even like clean up, like a button up, or maybe just a sport jacket. Nothing. Everybody's chilling like you and I are dressed right now. Well. Just shows you how much the NBA is just trying to find ways to get extra viewers, bro. But it's not my problem, not my chair. I'm still gonna be watching the fucking Heat.
Yeah, that's all we care about. What we need to worry about is Bally's. Getting rid of that Bally's monopoly.
Get together.
All right, we need to be able to get this shit on regular access cable on Hulu. Damn it,
we're done with that bullshit.
Damn it, Pat.
I don't think it's Pat, man. You know,
well, Pat needs to get on it somehow. Figure it out, Pat.
I guess, man. I guess we can wrap up the show on that, man. Pat, get on it. And what you guys got to do is tell a friend.
To tell a friend.
To tell one more friend.
To tell everybody that they know. And tell Pat Riley while they're at it.
And tell this guy to keep the energy up. And let everybody know, man, that we're bringing you these episodes on a weekly basis. We're still on the way to 300 on our YouTube channel. So make sure to tell a friend to subscribe to that. And if you haven't done so already on your phone, grab somebody else's phone and do it. And until next time, y'all.
Peace.